Okay, everybody, part 2 is coming up for air pollution. I gotta shut off the music. Hold on. Hey, check it out, you guys. Do you know what this is? Let me see. Yeah, it's a record player. Plays these ancient discs made of vinyl that people used to listen to back, in the 20th century, before all this internet and this Spotify and all these other things. A real physical copy. Of course, a lot of environmental issues with that, isn't it? Okay, I'm getting a weird sunlight thing happening here. Anyways, let's get to business. We are working on our air pollution unit, so let's get started. Last we talked was that we had these 6 primary air pollutants, and we remember that primary air pollutants are pollutants that come directly from the source. So something is burned or something is emitted from the Earth's surface and enters the atmosphere and is a pollutant. So we call that a primary pollutant. So let me show you, there's 6 primary pollutants. And here they are, and you learned about them in the homework. Particulate matter, nitrogen oxides, sulfur dioxide, volatile organic compounds, carbon monoxide, and lead. So basically, you guys, you need to memorize these 6. It's just basically that simple, or that difficult, depending on how you look at it. You need to memorize their names, their chemical formulas, which means NOx and SO2. I'll explain that X in a minute. And carbon monoxide being CO. So you need to memorize those chemical formulas. You need to memorize the sources of all 6. So where these things come from. The exposure risks, that means where are you likely to encounter this air pollutant? Where are you most at risk of being exposed to this? So that differs for all of these. And then the health effects. So what happens if we inhale these pollutants? What happens to our body, long-term and short-term? And then the environmental effects too, because some of these can affect plants and animals as well. So we have to know not only the health effects on humans, but the health effects on the plants and animals, the environment. So we're going to start with particulate matter, okay? So I just want to distinguish particulate matter from the others, because if I go back, if you look, these are all gases, 4 of these, right? Volatile organic compounds, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxide. Particulate matter is not a gas, okay? And lead is not a gas either, but it can become airborne, same as particulate matter. So lead and particulate matter are not gases. They're actually little bits, and we've talked about particulate matter quite a bit in class, so you should be familiar with it already. Little bits of dust and debris and other things that get into the atmosphere from a lot of different sources. So just make a distinction between particulate matter 2.5 and particulate matter 10. What these numbers represent is the size. We can see that the blue here is particulate matter 10. What I have here is a human hair. So human hair that's kind of magnified, and against that human hair we can see the size of particulate matter 10. So you can see it's super small, and particulate matter 10 would be like dust or pollen grains or mold. But the really tough stuff, the stuff that's even more dangerous because it gets deeper into the lungs, is particulate matter 2.5. And this is important because it goes deeper into the lungs and can cause more damage. Okay, and these are from burning things, so particles from combustion or organic compounds or metals. These things get really, really tiny and get into the lungs. So you can see here that the particulate matter enters through the nose and the mouth when we breathe, and the body eliminates most of the large particles that we inhale, but the smaller particles, especially 2.5, gets deep into the lungs and have serious consequences. So remember that 2.5 is worse for you. So what I want you to do in your journal is I want you to take 1 page for each primary air pollutant. So that's going to be a total of 6 pages. And you're going to set it up like this. So on the first page, you'll have particulate matter, and you'll explain what it is. Skip a few lines, sources, where it comes from. Skip a few lines, exposure, health effects, and environmental effects. So set that up right now. You can pause the video, and I'm going to keep moving. So once you have that set up, let's go to this this document here, and I'm going to link this in Google Classroom, so you'll have the document if you can't read this. I don't know how it's going to look. But we're going to go through the 6 primary pollutants, and you're going to fill out your journal, 1 page for each pollutant. And let me find particulate matter. Particulate matter. There it is. So it says here particulate matter is formed from tiny particles found in the air, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so if you can read this, I want you to take some notes on it. If you can't read this, you can get it from Google Classroom. I'm going to post this exact document. So find particulate matter and just write out. You don't have to write out every word, okay? That looks like a lot, so don't write every word. This is a good exercise in figuring out what's most important. Okay, so read it and figure out what's most important. And you see particulate matter doesn't really have environmental effects, but we can assume that they're similar to the health effects on humans, basically respiratory problems. Okay, let's go back to our list, and I think the next one on the list was nitrogen oxides. So let me explain that really quick. Nitrogen oxides, the reason there's an X there, it means there's different kinds of compounds that can be considered air pollutants based on the nitrogen and the oxygen combining. So you get NO, you get N2O, and you get NO2. So let me see if I can remember this. NO is nitric oxide. N2O is nitrous oxide. And NO2 is, anyone? Nitrogen dioxide. So let's go to our worksheet or our list here, and here it is right here. Did I get that right? Nitrogen dioxide, NO2, nitric oxide, NO, and nitrous oxide, N2O. The thing to remember about nitrogen oxides is that they come from combustion of fossil fuels. That's basically where they come from. So if you're burning a fossil fuel, coal, oil, gasoline, natural gas, they are released during that combustion process. And for all you smokers out there, nitrogen oxides are also produced by cigarette smoking. Okay, and you can go through and see how you get exposed to it and the health effects. Major exposure is motor vehicle traffic and coal-fired power plants. Those are the big ones. And of course, for all you smokers out there, smoking. Yeah. Okay, health effects, again, is respiratory. All of these you're going to see similar. All of these air pollutants, they get into the lungs by breathing in. So you're going to have a lot of respiratory issues. Okay, and you also get like headaches and fatigue and weird stuff like that. So review that, nitrogen oxides. Let's go to the next one, sulfur dioxides. Sulfur dioxides mostly come, again, from burning coal and oil and other industrial processes. So it's very similar to nitrogen oxides, but this one is a little different because it also comes from volcanic eruptions, because sulfur gets released into the atmosphere. All right, so you can read about that. Again, difficulty breathing, obstructing airways, lung disease, and that kind of thing. So one note, you guys, about sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides. We're going to see these again when we talk about secondary air pollutants, because these guys Not only are they pollutants when they get into the atmosphere, but then they combine with other things, namely water, and they can form acid rain. So we'll look at that next class. Okay, that's sulfur dioxide. We did particulate matter. Let's go to VOCs or VOCs, volatile organic compounds. Now remember, we talked about organic pollutants, right? Organic pollutants are man-made chemicals that have a C, like a carbon in them. So here we see the organic come up again, volatile organic compounds. And volatile means they get into the atmosphere very easily, okay? These are compounds that can easily become vapors or gases. So really interesting stuff here. This isn't about burning stuff. This is about like chemicals that are sitting and what they call off-gassing. So picture gasoline, right? You put gasoline in the car and you can smell the gasoline. Some people like that smell. I like that smell. I don't know why. It reminds me of home. Um, but the gasoline smell that you're smelling are volatile organic compounds. So they're also used, or they're also found in paint, paint thinners, air fresheners, aerosol sprays, a lot of automotive products, and dry cleaning fluids. So these are bad for you because they're in everyday products that we use all the time. They can also be used, they can also be found. You know that new car smell when you get into a car and you're like, that smells like a new car. Well, those are volatile organic compounds that you're breathing in, and that's kind of toxic. So make sure when you buy that new car, you roll down the windows for the first 3 years. Okay, that stuff can get into the lungs again and cause liver damage, kidney damage, central nervous system damage. Lots of toxic effects here besides just respiratory damage. Okay, VOCs. Then we go to lead. Lead we've already heard about because what is lead? It's a it's a heavy metal. That's right. Lead is a soft bluish gray heavy metal that occurs naturally in rocks. But God, this is such a big pollutant. And we list it under air pollution because it can get into the air. Okay, so it lists here a lot of different sources: construction materials, roofing, electronic equipment, soldering, ceramic glazes, all of this stuff. And it notes here that because of health concerns, lead was banned from paint in 1978. There used to be lead in paint, and they realized that's a big pollutant. And so you can't have lead in your paint anymore. A lot of kids were getting lead poisoning by eating paint chips. You know, the paint that peels off the wall. You love to eat that when you're a kid. Well, you're bound to get poisoning by eating that. So no lead in paint. And also, they stopped it from gasoline. So now we have unleaded gasoline. That happened in 1995. And there was also lead pipes for water. So you can imagine turning on your tap and getting lead from the particles that were coming off of the water pipes getting into the water, and then you're drinking that water and it has lead in it. So no more lead water pipes, although some old buildings still have those. No lead in the gasoline and no lead in the house paint. So that's something you want to remember. But the lead is still out there and it still gets in us. And all the effects are here. Okay, I got 1 more minute before my 15 minutes is up. This was quick. Which one didn't we cover? Carbon monoxide. So you can read about carbon monoxide, but the thing about carbon monoxide is it's odorless and colorless and tasteless and highly poisonous. And it also comes from the combustion of fossil fuels and wood products. And it's released during wildfires. So this is a big issue. So I'm going to post everything that you see here, this whole document, online on the Google Classroom. I want you to take good notes. And I have 20 seconds. Just want to say that I miss you guys. I love you guys. I hope you're doing well. Send me an email if you want. Just checking in. If you have any questions, happy to answer them. I'm around. And we'll see you when the future gets here. All right. See ya.